Hi, and welcome to another episode of In Crick's Corner. Today we're going to discuss the readings for the second Sunday of Easter. This gospel reading is a particularly fascinating one. We've got two servants who are walking on the road to Emmaus, two disciples who are having a heated debate about the recent events of Christ's death and resurrection, and one of the disciples is very downcast. He's very bitter. He doesn't think that he thinks they all made a gigantic mistake, and that Jesus didn't do what he said he was going to do, and he wasn't what they expected, and they wanted this one thing to happen, and Jesus promised all these things, and now they feel let down. But this other disciple is all fired up, and he's ready to go out and spread the news to every single person out there that they see and say, you know what, Jesus said he was going to do all these things, he did all these things, and it's all come true, and I'm ready to tell you about Jesus and his ministry. So you can imagine the conversation they're having as they're walking. Now, they're walking to a town called Emmaus. If you look on any map of kind of the biblical times to show you where places of interest are, you'll notice that that Emmaus is always put on the map with a little question mark after it. Now, Emmaus is a town that we're not exactly sure where it is. Going according to biblical descriptions of the town, it's not where the Bible stories say it should be. And that's kind of a problem. So we're not really sure if Emmaus ever existed, and if this story was not just a story or not. But that really doesn't change the facts. And the facts are, what does this passage mean for us? So as these two disciples are walking, they're again discussing all the events that have just taken place. And this guy comes up and he's like, hey guys, what are you talking about? And the two of them just are baffled. They look at him and say, well, what do you think we're talking about? Everybody's talking about it. How can you not know? And the guy, as the scripture points out, is Jesus, but their eyes have been disguised, so he's not recognizable. So they go on to explain how this is what happened. He was a prophet. He said great things, did great wonders. Then he was handed over by the chief priests and the leaders to be crucified, and he died and was buried. And according to some reports, he had resurrected from the dead, and so they're telling this big story of all these things that are happening. Jesus is nodding, saying yes, yeah, and then finally, this is kind of the real kicker. They say, but it's not what we expected. When we were looking for the Messiah, the Mashiach, we were looking for a great leader, somebody who was going to change the face of the planet, somebody that was going to lead the Jews out of their misfortune and take his place on the throne of David, somebody that was going to politically change everything for them. And Jesus said, well, I'm going to make a new kingdom. My kingdom's going to be great. You'll be with me, with me and the Father, and etc., etc. And so they feel let down because they had these expectations of what Jesus was going to be, and what he turned out to be was great, but it wasn't what they were expecting. This kind of reminds me of a little riddle. Not so much a joke, because it's not really that funny, but a riddle nonetheless. A guy walks into a bar, and he asks the bartender for a glass of water. And the bartender reaches under the bar, pulls out a shotgun, and shoots, and just misses the guy's head. the guy puts a tip on the bar and says thank you and walks out. So what's why the tip and why the thank you? Well, it's obvious that he was thankful for something, and what could somebody possibly be thankful for if they didn't get what they wanted, if they didn't get what they expected? The guy had hiccups. He was going in to get a glass of water. It's one of those household cures for hiccups, and got the shotgun blast instead, scared him, and he got rid of the hiccups. He was thankful for that, and he walked out. Key is he went in expecting a glass of water, and he left with something better. Jesus looks at these two guys and says, so let me get this straight. You were expecting, for all sakes and purposes, a king that was going to rise out of the ranks, take his seat on the throne of David, and change everything. And they're like, well, yeah, pretty much. It's like, are you stupid? I'm paraphrasing, of course, here, and, God forgive me. But, Jesus kind of looks at him and says, I marched around for 3 years. I performed all these tasks. I did all these miracles. I preached, and I preached, and I preached, and everything I have said has come true. And now you guys are just kind of like, well, it's not what we expected. So he spends his entire time on this journey with them to Emmaus, explaining the prophets, explaining the Old Testament, how everything in the Old Testament was leading to the time of Christ and leading to the birth of the Messiah, and how he was the Messiah, and how he has fulfilled everything. And they're all, as he's speaking, they're like, yeah, we were expecting this great military leader, but that's not what it was about. The scriptures don't ask for a great military leader; they ask for you. So they finally understood, and they get to Emmaus, and he indicates that he's going to go on further, and they beg him to stay, and he says, "No, I've got to go." But then he celebrates Mass with them. He does the Last Supper, if you will, again with the disciples, and he leaves. 2 important things, I think, to take away from this scripture. Number 1, the fact that Jesus teaches and then leaves. He does Mass, and then he leaves, and he just says, you guys, you're it. I'm done. I've done my job. My job isn't to babysit you guys. My job is to teach you so you can become apostles, so you can become disciples, and you can go out and teach the nations. Teach everybody. Let everybody know about me and my mission. Go out and change the face of the world with my teachings. Go out and grab the people. Make from me on earth a kingdom of believers. Truly a powerful message to each and every one of us that our jobs are now to go out and preach to the nations that Christ is God, Christ is Lord, and Christ is risen, and He's given us this new opportunity. This entire road to Emmaus, if you will, is to me a metaphor for our Lenten journeys. We've spent this 40 days and 40 nights wrestling over our faith, thinking of all the things that we've done, that all of the bad things that we've done, all of the times that we've failed in the ministry. And now Christ is saying to us, okay, I have taught you all throughout Lent. This is what you are doing. Stop. This is what you need to do. Easter's the time when we get to find out just how awesome that message of Christ is. And that is that He's given us a second chance. He said, okay, you screwed up. So what? That's not the important part. The important part is you realize that you made a mistake. So now you need to go and fix it. That's what the whole Easter season is about. So we've got we've got 8 weeks of Easter to really get a grasp on renewing our life with Christ. So think about all the things that we did during Lent. If we gave up chocolate, if we gave up caffeine, if we wanted to do more exercise, if we wanted to spend more time in prayer, don't let those things fall apart now. Now is the time when you need to go at it with all of your heart, because God has given us that opportunity to see areas where we need to grow, and now it's the time to repair those things. If you gossip, this is the time to go and tell people, hey, I've been talking about you, and I'm really sorry about that. If you've been stealing, this is the time to stop and return things that you've stolen. If you've been lying, this is the time to tell the truth. This is the revelation period when Jesus appears to us and says, look, I gave you the roadmap. All you have to do is follow it. The second part just harkens back to the message of the riddle, the expectation. These disciples were expecting one thing, a glass of water, and they got another thing, the scare. The glass of water may or may not have fixed it, but the scare definitely did. Jesus is a lot like this relationship with his disciples. The disciples were expecting a glass of water to come along and be that temporary fix for the Jews, to fix them politically, to fix them, become a military leader and take them out of the problem areas that they were having in their lives. But God knew better than they did, that they didn't need a glass of water. They needed a shotgun blast. They needed to wake up. They needed to realize that there's something greater than they are, and that's the mercy of God, that he gives us that second chance. So this is the thing to start thinking about during the season of Easter, is take the second chance that God has given us and really focus on how we can build our relationship with God again, how we can fix all of the problems that we uncovered during Lent. And let us not look for a glass of water, but let God cure our hiccups, and so we can seek out the help that we truly need. With that, I thank you for tuning in, and this has been another episode of Ann Craig's Corner. Have a great week.